This is Plant-Based Briefing, spotlight on Shivya Nath, vegan traveler and author, from HappyCow.net. And I'm Marian Erickson, host of this curated content plant-based podcast, where I narrate a variety of articles on plant-based and vegan living with permission every weekday. Today's article is from HappyCow.net. They were founded in 1999 as a public service to help travelers and people everywhere to find plant-based and vegan options in restaurants. But they're more than simply a restaurant and health food store guide. They're an ever-evolving online hub that serves millions worldwide each month. And I subscribe to their newsletter, which has interesting articles like this one from April that I'm going to read you today. So now let's get to today's plant-based briefing. Spotlight on Shivya Nath, vegan traveler and author, from HappyCow.net. Earth Month is a month-long emphasis on the planet, April after April, all around the world. Here's another reason and reminder for us to reflect deeply on our lifestyle choices and their impact on our planet. This time around, we had the privilege of speaking to very inspiring people who have shared abundantly about their personal journeys towards veganism, their motivations, perspectives, and insights. In this article, the spotlight is on someone truly unique. Say hello to Shivya Nath, a vegan traveler and author. We'll let her introduce herself to you. Quote, "I've been called a storyteller, environmentalist, adventurer, writer, author, consultant, vegan, drifter, but in my heart I'm just a girl who believes that travel, if done right, has the power to change us and the world at large." My journey began nearly a decade ago when I quit my full-time job at the Singapore Tourism Board, gradually gave up my rented apartment, and sold most of my belongings to lead a nomadic life. Back when #workfromanywhere wasn't trending and Instagram wasn't a thing. Living out of 2 bags and working as a freelance travel writer, blogger, Instagrammer, author, and consultant on the go, I was lucky enough to spend time as a digital nomad in many different corners of the world, learning about local ways of life, experiencing our planet's epic natural beauty, and building many unlikely friendships. The more I traveled, the more I learned, often firsthand, that humankind has a significant impact on the planet, for better or for worse, unfortunately, usually for worse. Over the years, my journey gradually introduced me to the climate crisis, the plastic pandemic, speciesism, and veganism, and the intersection of environmental conservation and social justice. I now try to use my voice to advocate for sustainable tourism, conservation, community ownership, animal rights, and climate action." Unquote. Brimming with curiosity about her life as a full-time vegan traveler, we asked her the following questions. Dive in and enjoy. Happy Cow, what does veganism mean to you? Can you share a bit about your personal journey with veganism? When, why, and how did you make the switch? Shivya, to me, veganism is committing to causing the least amount of suffering, directly to animals and indirectly to the planet as a whole, including all the species we share it with. I was raised in a meat-loving family. But at the age of 12 or 13, it first struck me that in order for a chicken to appear on my dinner plate, a living sentient being must be killed in cold blood. The shocking realization made me turn vegetarian overnight, the transition I shared with my father. After over a decade of being vegetarian, an unlikely bus ride in Nicaragua made me question my food choices again. As I began to read about the journey of eggs and milk products, honey and leather and silk, I slid into a deep, dark place, shocked at how simple choices I made in everyday life, eating a cheese sandwich, wearing a leather jacket, impacted the entire existence of an innocent animal. Unwilling to accept only the things I read and watched online, I began to leverage my travels to investigate free-range cattle farms, countryside wool collection centers, even silk factories. Across India, Europe, Japan, and other parts of the globe, I witnessed firsthand the suffering inflicted on hens, cows, goats, sheep, horses, pigs, donkeys, fish, lobster, octopus, shrimp, all for a few minutes of human pleasure. And I gradually became aware of our own innate speciesism as humans. Most of us fill with love for dogs and cats, but allow ourselves to enslave or kill other animals who can similarly feel love, pain, and happiness, and have the right to live a free, natural life. Over 6 years ago, in 2015, I decided to turn vegan, fully anticipating that I might someday have to choose between my nomadic lifestyle and my vegan diet. Much to my surprise, though, I've survived and mostly thrived as a slow-traveling vegan in several countries. including the countryside of Iran, Japan, Myanmar, and Guatemala. It hasn't always been easy, but I've built deep friendships, experienced places far off the beaten path, and had some of the best food of my life, thanks to my choice of being vegan. There are 5 ways that Shivya strives to be more eco-conscious as a traveler. She, 1, opts for land journeys and slow travel and cuts down on long-distance flying as much as possible. 2, chooses to travel with purpose by volunteering, traveling with community-led organizations, and participating or supporting local conservation efforts. 3, thinks about the impact of every travel choice she makes, from transport to accommodation to how she experiences a destination to the kind of stories she shares on social media, and tries to reduce the negative impact by choosing eco-friendly transport, local-centric activities, and meaningful travel stories. 4, travels as a vegan, even if it's not always easy, sparing animals and the planet the suffering induced by animal-based foods. And 5, tries to minimize single-use plastic consumption as much as possible. And she shares more responsible travel tips linked here. HappyCow, what are the top 3 eco-conscious places in the world you've stayed at? Shivya, it's tough to pick just 3. I've loved exploring India off the beaten path with responsible women-led travel companies, experiencing a wealth of environmentally conscious and community-led initiatives in Cape Town, and most recently working alongside the local community on the remote Robinson Crusoe Island, 700 kilometers off the coast of Chile. Are there any particularly eco-conscious vegan restaurants you've been to that you'd like to mention? Where do I even begin? I have really fond memories of Peace Food Cafe in New York City, which left me in awe of the potential of vegan food and strengthened my resolve to go vegan without feeling like I was missing out. I love Veganery in Bangkok, often described as vegan food porn, and would treat anyone who claims to hate vegan food to a meal or dessert there. And not a restaurant, but in Iran, I was lucky enough to meet and travel with the Iran Vegan Travel Network and ate some of the best food of my life prepared by vegan Iranians. You mentioned you use HappyCow all the time. Can you tell us more about what role HappyCow has played in your journey as a vegan traveler? The HappyCow app is my life jacket when I'm drowning in a non-vegan world. By mapping out vegan and vegan-friendly places around the world, HappyCow has led me to some of the most incredible vegan experiences in some of the most unlikely parts of the world, and come to my rescue when I desperately needed a comforting vegan meal on my travels. Here's one instance I'll never forget. While on a travel blogging assignment on my second day in Japan, I was to join a group dinner at a restaurant in Matsumoto. After a long outdoorsy day, the only vegan option at dinner was an unappetizing salad. Japan is not exactly vegan-friendly, the organizers told me. Disappointed and hungry, I pulled out my HappyCow app to see if there were alternatives, and slipped away on a rainy, cold night to the izakaya nearest to my location. Much to my surprise, the cozy, traditional izakaya run by an elderly Japanese woman offered creative vegan alternatives to almost everything on the menu. Over a sumptuous meal of oshoyu no mi, black soybeans with rice mold, jaza chizimi, potatoes with wild leeks, soba gaki, kneaded buckwheat with soy sauce, and warm homemade sake, we chatted about Japan, the mountains, and her love for cooking. When I asked why she offers vegan options unlike most other restaurants in Matsumoto, she said that during the Edo period, their traditional diet was largely plant-based and meat-free. It was only in the late 1800s that people started consuming beef, horse meat, and all kinds of marine animals in huge quantities. Both Buddhism and Shintoism, practiced for centuries in Japan, promote compassionate eating. Although plant-based eating has now become an alien concept in most of Japan, the Japanese still say itadakimasu before every meal, an expression of gratitude towards the animals and plants whose lives were sacrificed to fill one's plate. Which, according to you, are the most vegan-friendly cities or towns in the world? The list is growing every day, but here are some of my favorites. Ethiopia, where, influenced by the Orthodox fasting tradition, vegan food is easy to come by across the country. The beye netu is one of my favorite things to eat. Central American countries like Guatemala and Costa Rica, where kidney beans, rice, tortilla, plantains, and salsa picante constitute a staple meal. Most big cities across the world, from Mumbai to Amsterdam, where the thriving vegan movement means there's something for everyone's vegan taste buds. What would be your advice to someone who wants to tread lightly on the planet? It's easy to consider the scale of the global challenges facing humanity and be discouraged to take individual action, but the choices we collectively make today could turn the pendulum tomorrow, and even sow the seeds of change in the mind of someone who holds a position of greater influence. Start by asking questions, lots of them. Why is our planet faced with the worst environmental crisis? Where does the food on our plate come from? Why do we believe that some animals are meant to be loved and others destined for slaughter? What role can we as individuals play in an unjust world? What impact could you have if you made some changes in life and then inspired others to do the same? What does the future of our planet and species we share it with look like? I hope and believe the answers to some of these questions, along with some introspection, is bound to set anyone on a more compassionate, more sustainable journey. Are you filled with wonder and awe after reading this interview? Can't blame you. That's why Shivya is also on our list of 10 inspiring vegan women you need to know about, linked here. To continue following her journey, visit her blog, The Shooting Star, as well as her Instagram, both linked here. You just listened to Spotlight on Shivya Nath, vegan traveler and author, from HappyCow.net. And I'm Marian Erickson, your host, and please share this with anyone who might benefit, and thanks for listening.